Hello. Um, I'm very excited for this conversation. Ido, it's well, Ido and I are talking every day, 10 times a day, but I'm sure that we'll have some interesting topics to cover today, and I'm very excited for this. For those who don't know me, my name is Itamar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Token Security. Was fortunate enough to uh, co-found this company together with Ido. Um, and right now, I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm based in New York. You know,
Um, yeah, I'm actually quite curious if I could surprise you during this talk of things that you haven't heard me say before. But I'm happy for everybody to join. I'm Ido. I lead product and technology here in Token. I'm really excited to show what we built together today and to talk about agentic AI identity access management. So let's go.
yeah. So Ido and I and our marketing team were thinking we have so many interesting conversations all the time about agentic AI, and we also see how customers interacting with AI agents and see different examples. And we thought just to have a very natural and open conversation about what we see in the market, challenges, and how to address some of those issues. So we can just go right into it, eh?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
awesome. So I have my first question for you, Ido. Um, so right now we're seeing this uh, huge forces in the market trying to move AI agents from sandbox environments and from experimental experience more and more into production. Um, why do you think 2026 will be that year, that tipping point for AI agents?
Yeah. So I I recently heard I actually got a pretty good answer for that about specifically the production part, but I recently heard Andre Karpati, which leads AI in Tesla, talking about the AI revolution and how like eventually agentic AI is a new whole operating system. When we used to write like code or build applications on top of regular operating systems, right now we program LLMs to give us the output that they want. Now the question is why it's really happening in 2026 for production, for software, for where we are looking at. And it was actually my brother that gave me a very good um, good explanation for that, which I bet that he found in someone else. But what he said is that he said, okay, so we use AI for basically everything, for writing LinkedIn post. But when you look at an AI's LinkedIn post, you don't 100% know to explain why it doesn't really work. When you see AI generated art, it's nice, it's looking good, but it's still missing the point of what art is. So the question is why in writing code, building software, AI agents are excelling so much. What he told me is that code is testable, meaning that you can really say when it works. So when you generate things with AI, especially when it's moving from like day-to-day users of writing LinkedIn posts, writing emails, and so on into production environments, holding business critical processes, like you want to check if your customer success agent or your automated IT help desk is working. You can really write tests that test that, and in that way you can build AI scale applications, and that's why you would see that in 2026 you're at the point where this generation process and verification process works like amazingly. I see us as a company shifting so much into AI, almost not doing like almost every department, every area is already AI generated and verified in some way, and so I believe that the entire world is experiencing the same transformation, and I think that's 2026 is I haven't I'm not already not recognizing how things are looking uh, as they were last year, for example. And yeah,
But by
And
the way, this is you're curious if you will say something new. So in the first 5 minutes, you already said something. So
yeah, I'm
that's
trying to
correct.
surprise you with
Yeah, I
things that
love
you
it.
haven't heard before. Maybe trying new things, but this is only me in tech, and like seeing the maybe the elements, but you're seeing the market shift. Basically, you're our person seeing customers, seeing companies change, seeing them adopt and like grow in scale. How do you feel about that growth? Like how does this change really look in enterprises that are working with us today, that you see are adopting AI?
Yeah, I think that the entire mindset about AI adoption have changed over the year. Uh, if we're talking about a year ago, people were talking about, oh, how can I use this, um, you know, chat experience that we're having with ChatGPT and other platforms in order to search things better, have a better user experience. Now it's how can I make the organization do more with my existing working force, or even do more with less of my existing working force. So right now, the entire mindset is okay. How can I multiple each one of our roles, individuals, leveraging AI agents? So what we're seeing right now is this really excitement from CIO and board members to adopt AI in a way that will transform how the organization is operating. So every individual will having multiple agents, and we see the pace in our customers' environment. Uh, Conversation that we held 6 months ago that was very experimental around AI agents are now becoming the majority of the challenges, and also of the just outnumbering um, the amount of employees that they have by those agents. The company, for example, we, we have a customer with 1,000 employees. 6 months ago, they started to implement some AI agents. They had few, three, four. Now they have over 4,000, and it's just going faster and faster. So I think that the enterprise, even before, obviously before the security, understanding that hey, we can do more with our existing force by adopting all of those agents, and every person is now becoming this AI agents manager that's managing all of those agents and workflows. So I'm very curious to see how it will how it will affect um, our security teams, because right now they're seeing hey, there's adoption from so many places, but what is the actual risk? How can I maintain it? How can I manage it? The know-how is still a bit confusing for some of them. So we have a lot of really interesting conversation around that. um
I
yeah,
I
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that like two stories that I really like in this space. One was exactly at that point where you see a customer like adopting agents like 6 months ago, and we started and we did a discovery. We said, oh, you have 300 agents. Then we fixed a small bug that we had. It jumped to 1,500 agents. Now, if you calculate it, there's like about, I don't know, 180 days in six. Yeah, 180 days in 6 months, 1,500 agents. That's about 10 agents a day. Not a big organization.
Yeah,
And a second anecdote that I really, really like was that when the AI coding started, I saw one of our developers. He was sitting with like 10 terminals of like coding agent running in the background, and I told him, "All right, congrats! You are now a manager. You are the head of junior or like of AI agents." And he said, "Yeah, but they're not very good. They're like junior employees." And now a year and a half later, I see that he's delivering like a lot of our product offering, and I told him, congratulations, you evolved your employees. You are now head of not junior agents, but you're head of senior agents, and that phenomena is huge, and it's really really expanding like crazy. And I think that while that is very true, our angle was always security. You and I are like veterans in like maybe together we have 30 years between us of infrastructure security and friendship. But we feel like we have kind of, maybe it's a bit vain to say, but we have AI security kind of figure out, or we identify the right place to be. Like eventually we chose access as the best lever to operate like the security ecosystem around AI. And it wasn't easy. It took a lot of thinking of why is this the right place to be? Why are we positioning ourselves? Why is access the biggest challenge for security teams to solve in order to figure out AI security? So, you're the visionary between the two of us. Give us a little bit of your perception about like how this uh, solving access, meaning solving AI security or AI agent security at least.
Yeah. Look, there's few different layers on of AI security, but by just having those conversation um, with CISOs and CIOs, we saw that okay, the biggest change that organization gonna have is by adoption of AI agents, right? Like this is the promise of AI adoption is not just this search experience, but really operating in a more efficient way. And then we ask ourselves, okay, how those agents are going to look like? What will be their interaction with other resources in the environment? And we understand very quickly that most enterprise will use some um, out of the shelf agents, different models that are known, and protecting those models is 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 something that is required, but already focused by the actual players that are running there, whether it's Anthropic or OpenAI. But also, compromising an AI agent is not something so complicated, right? Like we can make by prompting, getting a result that wasn't expected. So we said, okay, let's think that the agent will get compromised. How can we lock it down to do what it actually meant to do? And understanding that agent without having access to my resources, without having the capability of taking an action is is not relevant. We say, okay, how can we help organization connect their agents into those resources, but still have the security against it, understanding that those agents can and some of them will get compromised. And the only way to do that is by restricting the permissions of the agents and managing the life cycle of those agents. Because we're treating them as another type of our workforce. Also, our IT and our leaders looking at those agents as an opportunity to extend their workforce, right? So, okay, how can I start to create those processes like I have for human and for our employees of managing their life cycle, understanding what are they trying to achieve, and then providing them permissions against that. So now we have this in a much larger scale because what I really like what you said about the junior developer. What with an AI agents, we have now thousands of junior developers, right? We have thousands and tens of thousands of those juniors that could make mistakes. It's not just security risk; it's also operational risk. So how can we lock it down that that agent will only do what it was meant to do, looking in their intent, in their purpose, in their goal, and start to lock it down, and then also managing their life cycle. We also see today so many organizations are experimenting, and then we see agents that are still running, no one is accountable for them, some of them are inactive, still have access, you have all those MCP servers, right? So we quickly understand that the agent access is what you should looking at, and managing also the day-to-day, the ongoing life cycle of those agents, because they shouldn't live forever, right?
Absolutely.
um, yeah,
I,
I'm curious what do you see from engineering also perspective, right? Because MCP is becoming very dominant, What's your take on that landscape and how it connects to agents?
Yeah. Um, like it's pretty crazy how I don't have almost anything to work with. Like I I'm building token for a lot of companies, but also for token. Like given that when we started, I was we were by the way, I'll have to do. We were a customer of Okta. We were a customer of Entra ID. We were a customer of Open and paid for PAM solutions. We are and we're a customer of Google Workspace, and that was very very good for me to handle the I don't know like the 40 50 employees onboarding, like their entire process in token and their permissions, and that was great. Now on like for me as a CTO, uh, I have like so many tools today. I am on my personal endpoint, in order to manage the company, I work with like 10 other meta people, which are my agents that doing my Salesforce work, my email reading, my marketing work for Russ and Christina, my the code review, the um, managing tickets from our ticketing system that feeds off our Sentry, and more. All of these are using like mechanisms for machine to machine authentication. They are using the same identity constructs that are invisible, that are like in very very high scale, like the amount of GitHub personal access tokens that you need to create, and API keys and service account and more, make me my job to keep everything in the same place very 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 hard. I i am very much using token as like a dog fooding, environment, for us to be able to even track which agents do we have, where are they accessing, to make sure that like every pattern is really great, and to think about that in the scale of huge software companies, of like cloud growth, or of even of AI companies, trying to build agents internally that are larger than token as a company. I I'm like kind of nervous for the VP of engineering, for the we already see a lot of people like VP of platform, of infrastructure and security together, because it's super hard to manage that access. That like it becomes a very very complex stack, very fragmented, like huge scale. So uh, if it's a little challenging for me, for other people in large companies, it's probably kind of a nightmare right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. No, I agree, and I'm curious because you were talking a little bit about permissioning and managing those permissions of human and your employees, and then for agents. Do you think there's when there's agents that running, on behalf of the employee, do you think that how do you think that security leaders should treat those type of agents, or should they just get the permissions of the employees, or what's your
Yeah,
perspective on how agents interacting on behalf of people?
yeah. We talk about it a lot, you and I, that you know when when the world was focused on workloads or NHIs or whatnot, there was this term right sizing. And right sizing, like you used to think that workloads work very deterministically, doing all the time the same thing. And then you actually I don't know, invented, or at least gave a word that for me was very strong. It was intent. Something that doesn't, like, maybe it exists behind the workload, but workload can exist for 25 years doing the same things. Agent is very, very, very different, especially in this evolving ecosystem. So you gave this word, and I think that it's super strong. I would love to give you the opportunity to explain to the crowd in your own words, and then like let's explore how that messes up like the employee to agent permission model and see and explain a bit about how that became a problem.
Yeah. Basically, what we understand is that um, when it comes to classic deterministic workloads, very easy to restrict the permissions based on their history, right? Like I can just look on the past of this function of this server, that what their actions have been in the past year or two, and I can restrict it. It's deterministic, same input, it will provide the same output. But now, when it comes to those AI agents, they are goal oriented. They are trying to solve a problem, and their access and action should be allowed against this ecosystem of the problem. And it's also sometimes how to define this goal, right? What we see for some agent builders is that when they defining this agent, and even when they're trying to document and try to say, hey, this agent was meant to do X, Y, and Z, we see a very vague definition. Now that's create a risk, right? Because let's say that I have a cost optimization agent, cloud cost optimization agent. um, is it allowed to start deleting files? If so, and we saw this actually in one of our customers, that this agent started to delete some files, and some of them had logs that the customers was actually interested in keeping, right? It was some security logs, audit logs. So how far do you want to give this agent permissions? I think that once you define a clear goal, intent, purpose of this agent, you can now lock it down and understand, okay, what is the behavior that we're expecting this agent to do? What is making sense, and then what it doesn't make sense, and that create a stronger, by the way, not bulletproof, but much stronger way to control what the agent can do, and get them in the right lanes. um, Now, when an agent to run on behalf of Ido or Itamar, so of course that it shouldn't have more permissions than what the individual has, but still the agent were meant to do a specific task. The fact that I can read emails and write emails doesn't mean that my agent need to read all of my emails and then send them, because that can expose me to a lot of new threats, right? I can do some send an email, there will be some prompt injection, my agent will read it, and then will send emails, all of my personal emails to this attacker, right? So you need to really restrict and understand, okay, this agent was actually meant for me to automate my outreach to customers. So maybe it shouldn't read all my emails. It can just go through a list of target audience for me to talk with, right? So and also restricting to whom he can send those emails, right? So I think that having this conversation about what's the purpose of the agent, even if it's running on behalf of a specific individual, is very important, because if not, it will just can go wrong. Now, if it's just reading and not taking in action, I think that the exposure is a bit smaller, but still you want to restrict it. Do you agree with that? What's your take?
Look, you know that I I I'm kind of biased because I think that the moment that we said intent based permission management is a moment that made a lot of sense in a way for how AI agents access should be managed. So today people are I think that I'm kind of in the honeymoon phase of this approach where people said and for me as a person leading, for example, engineering, when we started vibe coding, I was very appalled. I was like, are you sure that we want to take a very, very serious task, like coding a platform and just vibe code it? And now today we are doing like 100x more in our product delivery. When we still call it vibe coding. So I still think that where we are in terms of security is kind of like I believe that we have a very, 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 very good angle to like this AI security angle, because as you said at the start, you like guardrails doesn't work. Input and output monitoring wouldn't work like in the longer term. The only effective and efficient lever that you have is managing identity. So let's make sure that it's a very 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 fine and refined when we are doing that. And it really like also for me it's kind of amazing to see how um, with great power comes great responsibility. And I'll use this opportunity to tell a story. So at the very top, um, like top right upper corner of the risk of AI access are the autonomous agents that are also have very very strong access. And you see, and that's in my opinion like the biggest opportunity but also the biggest risk. You see people, for example, adopting agentic developer portals or building autonomous IT help desk agents. These agents could literally lock every account in the organization. They could when they create infrastructure out of the templates that they wrote, it's ununderstandable whether there is a relationship between the permissions that that service got and what the original developer meant. They could start a whole new account for you as a developer because you asked like to start a new application, and they could delete all of the other accounts in all of the company in order to save cost. And those agents that are like IT and helpdesk, I think that those are the most interesting ones where the intent is coming like to the maximum, meaning that you have to be very, very, very um, aware to what you're asking an infrastructure or IT agent to do for it to really have the right permissions to do that. Because after like if you get that wrong, all like a lot of chaos happens. So I think that like that angle is it excites me. I think that it's revolutionary, and I think that you gave it a really really good name. So I'm in as you understand.
Hmm.
Um,
That's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah. I was thinking about this right now as you were talking about, for engineering, we had this philosophy of chaos engineering, right? Well, assuming that I deliberately creating some applications to go down in order to be robust, right? And me as an engineer now understand that, hey, any service that I have can go down. So how can I handle um, those things, create a much more robust way? And I think now for agent builders, they need to really ask themselves, okay, let's say that my agent gonna get compromised. How can I secure it? And that therefore, I think that the access and the intent-based uh, uh, permissioning is so important, right? But there should be assumption, because right now when we talk and when we look in customers' environment, we see a lot of these pseudo agents, right? One agent that can do a lot of things, has permissions to a lot of tasks, and basically admins. So um, that's a change that the identity team and security teams should also educate the agent builders and help them and walk them through about the different risks that those agents has, and give them the tools to build an agent in a secure way, right?
yeah, yeah. I think that like you of like you're one of the people that I really like trust and can tell the story. Why? Okay, so you know that a lot of our customers are very successful in this space, and some of them get it right. There is a very very like fine balance that I can think about several elements, but I want to start with you of like what how do you balance like an organization that wants to run and build 1500 agents in 6 months with like proper security controls that don't slow them down, meaning that You don't want security to approve every. It's not practical to approve every agent, but still they need kind of like controls to be able to understand what they want or don't want. They need to be able to prevent things from happening that are over the red lines. What do you think makes our customers more successful than other organizations in
Yeah.
protecting and building the right control versus innovation?
Yeah, I think that we see some that are more ready than other, and I think that the first thing is their own mindset on how accepting they are for new technologies and how excited they are. What we see that the stronger adopters that we have are actually adopted AI agent first by themselves, right? So we see that in security teams are pretty much early adopters, and that they are also so strong in technology. So they are actually many times are the first one to adopt AI agents, and then they're asking those questions, and those questions are being asked by everyone. I remember just multiple weeks ago, like a few weeks ago, we were talking about, hey, how can we adopt agents even more in our environment? And our head of operations were saying, well, look, I'm a bit concerned to connect it to some of those services, right? Like how, well, they will start to do some things I'm not expecting. So this is so trivial and so natural to ask those questions. So those security teams that are, on one hand, experimenting themselves, on the second way, also having those dialogues with the agent builders, and not just like say, hey, you cannot use it, you cannot adopt this transformational technology, um, is the first stage. And I think that they're also keep up with this pace of innovation. They're thinking ahead, asking themselves, okay, I see now that MCP servers is becoming more of a thing. So let's see, let's talk with some of our engineers. Let's try to understand what's our take. Let's talk with some vendors. So discovering this space together. Now, when it comes to the first steps that they're taking, it's always, first of all, inventorying and understanding, hey, what is even my agent ecosystem? What is my blast radius, or how agents are being adopted in my organization? What's their purpose? And then working on treating them as this first class uh, uh, citizen, first class identity type. So I think those are the main characteristics that I see. What do you think? And anything to add on top of that, or what's your take?
Um, I think that our so I really liked what you said about our customers adopting AI in order to solve AI. Like in a way, something about the approach or something about the right having the right mindset is being quick. I think that like as a company, you as a security team or identity or under the security, it depends on where you sit. Sometimes you even sit in the chain of the people that are adopting it under the CIO, and sometimes you're in the CISO, and like you're more expected to control the situation. It doesn't matter. Eventually, I think that our most successful customers were at the speed of AI, meaning they had of course good tooling like whatnot, but no, to be honest, like they are good engineers. They're very very um, receptive of the fact that AI equals bigger business, that their stock would be like as public companies or private companies, their stock would skyrocket if the organization could adopt AI quickly. But they have scalable solutions to solve that. Like they are monitoring what new MCP servers are being used for them. They are in control, and actually they are leading part of the deployment of a central AI system. I think that like centrality and the ability, like I agree, tooling in AI is very difficult to find the right solution, but there are already some enterprise platforms that people are building agent on that are pretty good also in terms of security. So they are quick to identify, quick to adapt, quick to close a contract with them. and leading them. Um, but eventually, I think that they also are investing a lot in lifecycle management, meaning that they are aware of the fact that an agent would be created on day one, would peak and get to maturity on day 90, and would be abandoned to a new agentic platform on day 180. Meaning that if you understand that that's the timeline and you understand the process, when someone starts an agent, he needs tools or they need tools in order to make it smart. They need tools in order to engineer its context, tools that pull data from Salesforce, do queries on Snowflake, tools that send emails. So you already have an identity, you generated the right identity templates that are based on the agent's intent. Then you monitor the usage, you understand who consumes it, who owns it, who's taking care of it, and eventually, when it becomes stale, you decommission it. I think that that's like a new model. Now, I think there are resemblances to how identity lifecycle management happens in the human world, but it's so much quicker and different.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very, very it's very new, and I think that that's a part of like being with the program and not against it. You've seen like customers that are having rejection, like thinking, yeah, SellPoint is going to solve this for me, or like, oh yeah, I have CyberArk everywhere. Like and like without criticism, what do you think about that angle? What do you think about like other companies that have made incredible business, but how do they fit with the AI agent space in that way?
That that's the multi-billion-dollar question, right? But I I I think that there should be a paradigm shift on how we treat those identities, right? And it's a bit tougher for um those organizations that were now celebrating 25 and 30 years, because when they were looking at the infrastructure and the environment, um, some of them are still not supporting non-human identities in general, and cloud identities, and have a much more singular um, this perspective that identities are managed in a centralized way. I think that with AI agents and with non-human identities in general, I think that we very quickly understand that, hey, this pace of innovation going to come from a lot of different places. Every SaaS going to come with their own agent suite, and we will not have one place to manage all of our agents, but they're going to be decentralized. And I think that's a big architecture shift than some of those classic identity centralized solutions are looking into. Now, with cloud identities, it was not so successful, but now with AI agent, I think that we always need to consider the pace of the adoption of the technology. We're still meeting enterprise, large enterprise, that still 80% of their workloads are on-prem, still part of this migration of moving into cloud, right? And cloud been there for a while now. With AI agents, the cost of creating new agents and with AI is so much cheaper, right? When I want to migrate into cloud, I need some really strong talent to understand, hey, how can I create this, cloud microservice architecture? I need to understand all of those different services, Lambda function, Kubernetes, and now when I want to run an agent, you're just talking about vibe coding, but it's and a lot of agents are out of the box. So I think that the pace of innovation and the architecture of how we're managing agents is two of of those things that going into this train hit the bus meme, right? So I think that you need to really think over on how you want to adopt that, because the other thing that you're saying that I really agree is that security teams job responsibility, um, it's not that it's changed, but it's became much more heavier on business enablement, and AI adoption is a big part of how me as a security leaders I'm enabling the business to take action in to be more efficient, to do more business, to have our competitive advantage, to not lose the market opportunities. Um, so, so yeah, I think it's just a new class of identities that we need to treat them very differently than the one before. Um, yeah, I'm
Is yeah.
curious.
I
I
see that we have a question from the crowd from
Okay,
Aiden. All right,
you want
many okay. I'm going to ask the question. You're going to answer it. Okay.
all
Many
right.
CISOs are under pressure from leadership to deploy AI capabilities immediately, often before security teams have full visibility or controls in place. What practical frameworks or guardrails, a word that I don't really believe that's working, but what practical frameworks or guardrails have you seen work to enable fast AI deployment while still maintaining security intact? What do you think? Practical
I,
frameworks did you see?
I, I think that um, the the most practical thing that I saw security, because look, without even without CISOs being part of the adoption is happening, right? And we see now already um, um, so many different departments are starting to implement and adopt those different AI. So I think that just looking into um, both my SaaS infrastructure and my cloud and try to understand which type of um, agents orchestration platform are being used is one thing that could help you at least start to understand what's the proportion of your AI adoption and what's the pace. Just a few days ago, I had this conversation with a customer and I asked him, "Hey, what's your strategy around Microsoft Copilot?" And he said, Wait, why are you asking that?" And I said, "Because you have over 1,500 of those agents that are connected to other resources." And he was like, "Whoa, whoa." So I think that visibility is always when you want to start, and in order to do that, you need to um, either use external tooling, but even before that, start to look what type of known AI platform your company may use and start to understand if there is any usage over there, and then tie them back to the access that they have.
Yeah.
What do
I,
you think? Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that like 100%. But I have like also a contrarian view on like on the anti question, which is what should like what doesn't work,
Hmm.
because I really agree that like having a practical framework to manage access does work. Eventually, that's the best and most like identity is the best and most efficient control plane for AI agents. Why don't I? All right, so a lot of companies are going to look up in Google secure chat GPT, which is fantastic, absolutely fantastic to have a secure chat GPT. There are fantastic companies that are selling that. What they are selling is basically an AI model that gets your input prompt, tries to classify it if it's malicious or not, and then if it classified as not malicious, it passes it to the mothership model, let's call it, gets the response, checks that the response is not malicious, and then brings it back to you. Now, why doesn't that work? First of all, um, there is when the let's call it in general workloads, the input space was limited to machine code. Only what you could write in code you could do, and that was already problematic to manage, and vulnerabilities have been created faster than they've been remediated, but let's say we're on a good path. With AI agents, your input space is the input space of natural language. Every word in every language that you could ever write could be input into an AI model. Second, the output space is the same, meaning that guardrails in general, the idea that a model would be able to identify an attack, is a very, very low confidence solution. Now, the second part would be to say, let's say that you adopted a secure ChatGPT. There are a million different clients that are changing every day. So you have today a secure ChatGPT. Tomorrow you need a secure Perplexity. The third day you need a secure Cloud Code. It's impossible to manage and to be in control of every input and output of the AI application. So what do you need to do? You need to look at what's the common denominator. You need to look how to control them. An agent without access is just a chatbot. That's it. It can't hurt your business. Like it can't get your sensitive documents. It can't shut down your infrastructure, and it can't lock you out of your email box. So the only place that you need to be, or not the only place, but the first place that you need to be, is on the identity, is on the access. Once you've been there, you can also be wary that, like, this new technology that evolves every day, models come out every day. You should adopt guardrails, but they should be second, if not, like, I don't know where, um, to managing the access of those. And that's I think that they're like the strongest point about an identity security company doing AI agent security.
Yeah. I'll add on top of that that when you're using an OpenAI solution, I think that OpenAI is also putting tremendous effort in order to make um, the input and output as secure as possible. And you're right, there's endless ways to fool the model and to have those different prompt injections. And what's funny is that most of those security solutions are also um, validating this input and the output from the model with AI, right? So it's almost like, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it's, as you said, it is secondary um, to the how to secure the access of those agents, and 100% agree.
Yeah.
Um,
We have at least two more questions, and then I think that we have our closing statements, as they say. So, from Marcus, you've warned about long-lived credentials as a major problem, but how does good look like? What does dynamic identity controls look like for agents? How should we build them? Where should we go to look for them? um, there are vendors doing amazing work. Like there are AI platforms doing amazing work of enabling auth-based accessibility for agents. Not every MCP server that you find on GitHub is worth using. Most of the agentic capabilities, at least, like, I'm answering from my personal experience, but um, at least from an engineering angle, most of the times when you work um, with the vendors, they want you to consume the platform with AI. It makes the platform look better, even if they are Salesforce. Okay, I'm just kidding, but uh, I think that there are really, really good solutions where you have a good grip of eliminating tools, MCP servers that are using long-term credentials. You can identify that. You can change that to a short-term credential. It would always be based on trust, meaning that you would need to give an agent some kind of access, but you don't have to go through the worst route of creating a long-term credential, putting it in your MCP server. Try to find the more official solutions. The remote MCP server scene is exploding, and there's so much. We have so much experience with integration so far. It shouldn't be based on long term.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we see we have so many questions. So
Yeah. So
what do you want to know?
let me take the next question, and we'll do those like three questions.
Hmm.
Um, we'll try to answer all of them, and then move into the to wrapping things up. But from Sam, how do you see responsibilities for agent access checking out long term? Does it sit with security, with the app, agent builders, or somewhere new? So there's a lot of interesting conversations and that we have with CISOs and about this. We're asking them, hey, do you think that AI that there will be a new role for securing AI agents? Should it be part of the identity team? Should it be part of the infosec? Eventually, it will be part of the identity team. Right now, it's really a question of maturity of the organization. So what we see, the most common way is to have this team of architects and influencers that are part of across the organization that are thinking, okay, how can we adopt AI agents? But they are usually working with the identity team in order to manage the agent access and their lifecycle management and processes. So I think that this is relevant to, in general, to AI as a technology. I think that it still hits the same layers of security teams that we have today. So there will be responsibility for people from AppSec, from data security, from SecOps, and from identity. And each one of them needs to ask themselves, okay, how AI is changing my responsibility? How can I do things more efficient? But more importantly, how can I secure this new layer of technology? So on the long run, I'm sure that it will be part of the identity, but it has to be also conversational and collaborative with the agent builders, and sometimes giving them the tools and educate them to how to do things in a secure way right from the start. Um, and Ido, I think that maybe you can take the question from Rebecca.
Yeah. The question is, what's good enough in terms of intent-based access, and how like can we not, as security team, how can I not manually approve every agent to understand what it does and to feed it the right permission? So that's a great question. I don't think that like uh, agentic security should mean slowing down AI adoption. I do think that there is a couple of things to be aware of. Very simply put, first of all, in order to analyze AI agents, you need an AI agent, meaning that you need automation, you need a centralized place that has a central inventory and a central place that you can ask questions about which agents I have, what does each one of them supposed to do, who's out of line, and what for. The second part is connecting those agents to their access, meaning that not every agent counts. There are agents that only are built with a small subset of text documents that they have been trained on to answer questions. Those are relatively lower risk. The more serious agent, like as high as you climb in the access pyramid, the better you need to look, meaning that you need to prioritize not only based on the autonomy of the agent or its intent, but also about the level of access. So I hope that answered the question.
Love it.
um,
Love it.
yeah.
Okay, let's try to wrap things up. I was really curious, um, a couple of weeks ago we were writing a blog about our predictions, right? And for 2026, and I'm very excited for this year. I think that there's will be a lot of different interesting transformation. Um, which one of the predictions of our predictions right now scares you the most?
It's one that I think maybe I even wrote. So identity-driven breaches have been a thing like for a while, but it became harder at a certain point. Like endpoint exploitation yielded less result, and less people were using long-term credentials in their workloads. Now this is doing a comeback, but it's mixed with a very new technology. So think about kind of a agentic zero day that makes your agent activate tools that it has to your wishes as an attacker, bypassing their guardrails and making them activate the tools in a way that extracts data but looks very natural because eventually it's an agent. It's supposed to work in scale. I think that like if that would take center stage, that would be scary as hell. I was about to say some profanity. It's going to be scary as hell if you are able to like, and that's what I task our research team to look for. Like, how do we educate the world and find out what does it mean to protect agents' identities in 2026? And I hope that it won't take center stage. But if you ask about what scares me, I think that's the main one.
Interesting.
For you, I think if we're talking about the predictions, and let's take exactly the opposite side, what makes you the most optimistic towards 2026?
I think that just move that agents are moving into production. I mean, I'm just so curious about there's so endless capabilities and and ways paths for innovations, and for those enterprises that are um, solved or managing the access of the agents in the right way, connecting them to the agents is is the ultimate power, right? Many people are talking about, hey, let's put a person in the a man in the middle to a lot of those agents interaction. But I think that when we think real agentic, it's okay, it's how can we make it autonomous. And I think that this year, seeing more of those agents running in an autonomous way, and not just extend and chat experience. I think that really excites me. So those multi agents that honestly is also scary, right? Like those
Yes,
multi
totally.
agent interactions, and it's also gonna be
I think
super
that's
cool.
that's sci-fi. That's real
Yeah,
sci-fi. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
um, yeah, and maybe and my last question for you is, there's a one actionable takeaway that you wanted people, the attendees here, will take from today's call.
Yeah,
What is it?
actionable is good. Yeah, I love actionability. Okay, so if you can, as an attendee, take the list of agents that you have. If you can't, dial 1-800 Itamar Apelblat. But if you can take your agents, put them on a table. One axis of the, or like on a graph. One axis of the graph is autonomy. The second axis of the graph is access. Let's talk about those that are on the top right. The most important actionable takeaway that you need to look at is what's the agent that has the most access and has the most autonomy. That's what we should talk about in the near future. And Itamar, it's your turn to give an advice and to wrap us up. What's if like for the CISOs watching this, one piece of advice for thriving in the AI era? What is
So besides, okay, one advice is to talk with us later
it?
and and check out our product. But I think that talking with the agent builders, uh, listen to them, try to see what are the use cases that they're trying to achieve. I think that's the most important thing, is first going from enablement perspective and understand how can you help them thrive and support the organization, and then understand what are the risks that associate with it, how can you manage it. But first, listen to those developers, to those agent builders, to the people that are actually um, iterating and being more effective in the organization.
Love it.
All right, awesome. So Ido, I mean, five in the first 5 minutes you already gave some surprise, but the entire hour was really great. I really enjoyed it, and we should do it way more often, eh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm waiting to see you here, man.
All right, see you next week.
All right.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
everyone. Bye bye.